Hello, and welcome to the Hack and Chat podcast. I'm Kainoa.
I'm Jory, and I want to do something today that we haven't done before.
Okay.
A new game just came out Friday.
Okay.
And I know you and I don't generally play brand new games unless it's something that we're totally into. But I picked it up. It's called Ever Oasis, and it's a lifestyle game, kind of in the form of Fantasy Life, or further away a bit like Stardew Valley, Harvest Moon-ish.
Okay.
And I want to do a on-the-spot review.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
So I haven't played too much of this game because it just came out, but I've been basically non-stop playing it since it came out.
Okay.
So I feel like I know enough. So the main point of the game is you are this seedling thing. You create a town in the style of New Leaf, Animal Crossing, whatnot, but very simplistically. You also go out on these adventures to try and bring more people to your town while doing crafting and all those general lifestyle adventure things. Oh my god. It is... I love this genre. Mm-hmm. And so it kills me to say that I think this might be a horrible game. And all of the review sites are giving it 9 out of 10s. A couple of them are giving it 8 out of 10s. I've only seen one that reviewed it as bad, and that gave it a 5 out of 10.
To be fair, that's kind of how review scores work anymore.
Yeah. But like a 9 out of 10, I feel like...
A 9 out of 10 should be a good game. It should be a really good game.
So I went through all of the different features of this game, and I wanted to just, like, point out what they should be like in a game, and how they did it.
Okay.
So the most basic one I thought is crafting. Most of these have it. It's kind of basic. Stardew Valley had it where you just get the recipe and you click it, and then you get something cool. Which
is how most people do it anymore.
Yeah.
Really only Minecraft tried to, like, do something really different. Everything else basically boils down to, it's a list with a list of ingredients.
Well, Fantasy Life, which I'd say is the closest game to this, it's a 3DS game. It's a very good game. If you want one of these games, I recommend it. It's a little less, like, personable and more doing quests and stuff, but it's still a pretty good game. This may be the worst crafting I've seen in a game. So, it's basically that list where you get a couple of different, like, items, and you've got your recipes, and then you just click it, and then long-ass cutscene.
Oh.
Yeah. And I feel like they wanted to make every time you craft something feel super important, maybe? But they don't give you really any incentive. All of the ingredients are basically garbage. Like, there's a couple of rare ones, but it doesn't matter that much, because you're just going to grind to get them anyway, which I'll get to later. And then all of the items feel horrible. Like, it's stat bonuses exclusively. Okay. And in the realms of 1 to 2 pluses.
So you don't really feel a tangible sense of progression.
Oh, and that's a theme throughout this game.
Okay.
So next is city building.
Okay.
So city building is, you just have like a couple of squares in your city and you place buildings there. There's no real restrictions to it, as you just get the building and you put it there. And the entire reason you get those buildings and put them there is to get money to build more of these buildings.
Yeah. So what's your end goal? Do you have an end goal?
I think... So, the end goal, which they drill into you repeatedly, is to build this city.
Okay.
You're following, I guess, what your brother did.
Okay.
And everyone kind of admires him. Even though what he has... Oh, God. I don't even...
Balls. Got it.
I have to bring this back. It has the worst opening in any game I've ever seen.
Wow.
So you know all the general tropes in those kind of games? It's like, something bad happens, there was a nice place, it's gone now, you have to figure it all out. It does that, like, 3 times, and just solid cutscenes with, like, a fetch quest in the middle of it. And it just follows every single trope, running you around in circles for the first 15 minutes of this game. It's mind-boggling. There's also the the standard trope in games where they do the artistic video scene, like in the beginning of Wind Waker, where they've got an exposition dump on top of it.
Ah, okay.
In the boringest way possible. And then they repeat every bit of exposition, quest dialogue, what you should do, at least 2 times, usually more. This lasts longer than the tutorial.
Yeah, so do you feel like they were trying too hard to pitch the game to you? Is that...
Yeah!
Okay.
But I also feel like there's no mechanics.
There are no mechanics. It is not a game.
It kind of feels like that. So all of these buildings you build, you have to just go in and restock them, or else your townspeople get unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually linked to your health. Because a lot of the game, and I'd say the good part of the game, is actually exploration.
Okay.
There's a vaguely open world out there with what is the best part of the game, Zelda-style dungeons. And honestly, the Zelda-style dungeons are pretty damn good.
Well, I might have to play this terrible game then, because I need more of that in my life.
I can't recommend it. I totally feel how you feel. Like, they're super fun, and it's puzzles and all sorts of stuff, but you have to just grind through every other part of the game, because they didn't realize what the fun part of the game was.
So it's like Secrets of Grindia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Where you just, it's literally like up front. This is a grinding game. If you don't like grinding, go home.
It's, yeah, and even the level progression is super slow. It's just boring. And it sucks, because I love these games. I know you've gotten hyped for a couple of these style of games, where you've got life and combat mixed together.
Yeah, I mostly... There's one in particular, I think it's called Re-Legend, which is the one that Square Enix is, like, vaguely formulating. We don't even have a release date for that yet. That's kind of the only one I'm hyped for. I was really into Stardew Valley when it came out, but, like, everybody was into Stardew Valley.
Oh, it was so good.
Because it's just such a good game. Other than that, I don't think I've ever really been hyped for these kinds of games. But yeah.
When you told me you were hyped and you showed me the trailer for Relive and I was kind of skeptical,
yeah,
this was basically the reason why. Because the trailers for this game
look the same.
Look identical.
I'm yeah, and we went over Re-Legends between us, but we haven't done it on the podcast yet. It's basically Pokemon meets Harvest Moon made by Square Enix. It's probably going to be bad because it's really... it's just reaching really far to try and merge too many disparate mechanics, I think. But we haven't seen much about it. It looks pretty from what little we do have. And I hope it's good.
I feel like the way you do that is with an MMO. Because MMOs kind of already follow that formula of having a heavy emphasis on combat and then crafting or guilds and other things in the background. I don't know if anyone's done a good farming MMO yet, but there's potential out there.
People have tried it. There's Worm Online. Have you played that?
I haven't.
It was actually a project that Notch from Mojang worked on way before Minecraft was a thing.
That's cool.
And it's still around. It's an MMO. He wasn't like a major player in it. I think he was just like one of their code monkeys. But it's a open world MMO where the players can actively like mess with the terrain. Like everything is player controlled. The economy is player controlled. They literally were just like, there is gold in the world, you can mine it and mint coins. That's your economy. And you can literally mine out the terrain, and there's like subterranean caverns and stuff. But the thing is like, because the MMO's been around for so long, everything's kind of set up already. So it's about personal exploration more than it is about exploring a world for the first time. But I still think that's cool because now there's infrastructure around this game world that's entirely player driven. And the game runs like dick. It looks like somebody made a bunch of cardboard standees and vaguely moved them around.
I like that style.
It's not
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally, like Morrowind. It looks like Morrowind. Except it runs really choppy just because it's like literally everything in the world is a voxel and it's a 12-year-old MMO.
Ooh, yeah.
It just runs terrible. But it's a great idea in concept, and there are people who are fucking into this game.
Like Eve style into it?
I think like Eve style into it. But it's a fairly small community. It's worth I think it's only a few gigabytes because it's so old. So I think it's worth downloading and just logging in to look at stuff.
Kind of like the Lord of the Rings server for Minecraft.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to take part in it, but it's fun to look at.
Yeah.
Which is the same as Eve, I guess.
That's even hard to get into. I think it's free to start with now?
You can get a free month trial.
But even the second you get into that game, you need a guild or they'll start shooting you down.
Well, you don't necessarily need a guild. You do need a guild if you want to be a part of the game in the way that everybody's a part of that game. If you just want to fly a spaceship around the universe and basically do the Elite Dangerous thing, but not as well, you can do that. And actually, if you get to the point where you're you have a production line and stuff going, most people who are high-level Eve players don't pay for their subscription anymore because they don't have to. You can actually earn in-game money and convert it into their cash shop money and then pay your monthly sub that way.
There was another MMO kind of like that. So this is just the MMO podcast now.
I guess. Yeah, let's talk about some MMOs.
It was called Spiral Knights. Have you played it? It was free on Steam, and it was a dungeon-based kind of instance / puzzle Zelda-like?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it, and then I got to a point where it was just so grindy that I gave up, and that was really immediately. I played it for maybe a few hours.
I really enjoyed it, but my biggest problem with it is it limits you. There's an amount you can play per day.
Yeah, I think that's what I ran into.
But when you actually get good enough, you can get enough gold to actually buy those points again. And you can sell those points for gold too. So if you just had an account, you could, and didn't want to play, you could just sell the points and get gold for them. Yeah. Which I thought was kind of interesting way to do it, let the players figure out how much. I also wonder if it was a way to limit server load, where there's a set amount of those points.
That's what does that? Mega. The Mega Upload kind of not proxy server, but the response to Mega Upload going down. They created mega.nz, and if you are a free user on that, it has a bandwidth throttle, kind of like how Mega did, where it was you can only download so much each day. But its bandwidth throttle is dependent on its total bandwidth consumption. So if it's a slow day, you can actually download more before you hit your limit.
That's cool.
It's really cool. So yeah,
I love the ways that different servers limit their load. I really love that they gave a lore explanation in Eve. Going back to it,
did they?
Yeah, during some of the largest battles, there were so many ships, especially in one area, that it just couldn't handle it. So it had to lower its own frame rate, and it gave a lore explanation as they're actually time distortions.
From so many people being in the same area?
Yeah.
It just mass is creating a time distortion?
Yeah. And I thought that was, really cool, because there were points where it was, so slow that you were just, logging out and coming back later to make your move.
Jeez.
It was...
play by post in online.
Yeah, basically. And I could totally see, the Elite Dangerous people doing that if people played that anymore.
Yeah, that game's unfortunate.
I'm so salty about that. I was hoping that there was going to be a Steam sale, because I was going to actually bite the bullet and pay them money again, because I'm so addicted to this game.
It's a
but
good
I
game.
refuse to pay that much.
Their business model is terrible.
Yeah.
Speaking of Steam sales, Steam summer sales.
Yeah. Did you bite the bullet on anything yet?
Oh, So what I did was, I was like, okay, I bought Nier Automata. Way back when it came out. Way back, like a month ago when it came out. I bought Nier Automata, and I paid $60 for that game, and I hated it. And I was like, okay, so if during the Steam summer sale, I spend less than $60, I guarantee I'll find a game that I actually like, and I will feel okay with my spending. So I've limited myself to $60.
Okay.
And I'm about $45 deep.
Okay.
And I've gotten, like, 7 games?
Oh,
I got
nice.
quite a few games. I got some cheap ones, but then some other things I've been looking at for a while that are like just low enough that I'm like, fuck it, whatever. Yeah, so one of the games, and a game that I think deserves a little more recognition, is called The Room.
Oh, yeah, you've told me about this one, but...
So The Room is a atmospheric puzzle game where there's 2 of them. I bought 2. I had played 1. Now I've played through 2 as well. They're really simple in concept, but the puzzles are really deep. Basically, you're locked in this room, and you're given like all of these weird kind of like boxes and gadgets that work together in this very magical sort of way, where like you'll like turn a screw on one of the boxes and something else will like bloom open on the side of the box, and a light will shoot out and it'll hit a mirror, and it'll bound around and hit a thing, and it'll trigger something, and then you'll get a key, and you're just running around these rooms like trying to figure out these puzzles. And when you eventually figure it out, it has like this kind of interesting story that I'm kind of invested in now after playing 2.
How long are each of the games? I know you don't want to say because you're gonna like give away how long it took you.
No, they're not long, but they're not expensive either.
How much?
I think they're $5 a piece when they're not on sale. I think The Room 2 is right now $1.50.
I might have to give that a go, because I love those Flash games. Because I'm assuming it's a lot like the Escape the Rooms.
Imagine if those were done on like, it feels like a AAA version of that.
That's cool.
Like, they're still fairly short, and they're really constrained. It's like, this is a box, fuck with the box. And in 2, and I don't remember if this was in 1 as much, what they'll do a lot is the whole room is like sort of a mechanism that you have to interact with. Like, there was specifically a puzzle where there's a box in the middle of the room, and then there's these stations all around the room, and every time you solve a puzzle at one of the stations, it opens up another part of that central box, and then you like work around that. And they keep bouncing you through these different areas that are all like really interesting themes. So there was like one that was like an old pirate ship, and so you like fire a cannon. And there's one that's like Dr. Frankenstein's lab, so you like turn this big ass crank, and then this thing starts to shoot lightning, and you flick a switch, and it's really cool. And I think it was initially designed for phones, but it looks really nice on PC. Like it scales up really well.
They didn't just like phone it in.
They didn't. No, it's really well done, and I think they are great games. So that was one of my purchases. Another game I got was Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
You've been raving about these for so long.
Yeah. Thanks for outing me as a pirate, by the way. But yes, I have been playing these games that I just bought now for a while. But Dragon Ball Xenoverse is good. Xenoverse 2 is straight up, I would say, a remake, but that is too polite. It's like, they put out the first game again.
Yeah.
With, like, some bug fixes and stuff.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
It's a time travel plot. And
oh, god damn it.
It's... Okay, so the first one's this time travel plot, where basically, you get why they did it. You can create your own character, and the idea of the time travel plot is you go back through the history of Dragon Ball Z, and, like, try to make the timeline mesh up with what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And there's, like, villains who are trying to fuck with the timeline.
So they were real... Do you know how long it took them to develop this? Because it sounds like they were on a tight schedule.
I don't think so.
For the second one, at least.
For the second one, I don't think so. I think they just put it out really quick because it's literally the first game again.
Yeah.
But, so you do this whole plot involving time travel because, of course, it does, which Dragon Ball Z already involved time travel. So...
Yeah.
But the second one was the villains from the first game are back, and their big evil plot is to redo their plot from the first game and just do all the exact same things again.
I don't even get how a writer comes to that conclusion. Like, I get maybe if your villain's supposed to be stupid, but can anyone be that stupid?
No, they're supposed to be, like, really hyper-intelligent beings from the distant future.
Then maybe make some changes to your plan.
Yeah. And I think in the second one, there's, like, this whole conceit that there's another bigger villain who has possessed them, like they possessed all of the lesser villains from the first game.
Dumb.
And is... Yeah, no, it's...
Dumb.
It's totally indefensible. All 2 does is fix... like, the netcode. Because cheating was a massive problem in the first game. Which I don't care about online.
Yeah.
So I just have the first game. And I've always really liked Dragon Ball games. I think the fighting games are really good because it feels like a series that is so able to lend itself to that. Because even if you watch it, like, if you watch the show, you're like, this kind of feels like a fighting game. Minus all the talking. And I've actually only watched 1 or 2 episodes of the show, but I know all the plot up through the Android saga. No, up through the Majin saga because of the games. Because I've played many of the games over the years.
Yeah, there's another game kind of like the Xenoverses, but for Naruto that I know Ross and Barry are playing on Game Grumps right now.
Ultimate Ninja Storm, I think.
Yeah, and if you can get through their bad commentary... No offense, but they're just yelling at each other right now.
I do want to play Ultimate Ninja Storm. Here's the terrible thing. I want to finish Naruto Shippuden before I play through Ninja Storm, because I don't want to get spoiled about the 10-year-old Naruto shit plot. But I don't. I do want to watch the show, because I'm, like, very slowly making my way through that.
I won't say too much, and I don't know if this is a spoiler. I don't think it is. But... the first combat in that game goes from super badass Naruto standard ninja with magic fight.
Over the top,
to super badass kaiju fight.
Yes, I am aware that it goes kaiju fight, like, immediately.
Which blew my mind.
Yeah.
I haven't kept up at all.
Yeah.
But I thought that was, like, super cool. I have a smaller budget for Steam sales. I went with about $20, and I haven't really touched that too much. I only bought a couple of things, and not counting fucking RimWorld, because it wasn't on sale. So
that's unfortunate.
I haven't.
You know what is $4, and I'll say this because I already talked to you about it. Shadow of Mordor, is currently $4. That is a very good pickup.
Yeah, I was telling you I wanted to just find someone who didn't have it in their Steam inventory.
Yeah.
So I could be like, here, gifts.
Yeah.
But I was playing RimWorld. I got through an entire year.
Okay.
Because I just wanted to give it the full experience, because you really wanted me to play this game.
A year gets you a pretty full experience.
I figured, because I'm most of the way through the tech tree right now.
Yeah, the basic tech tree is kind of small.
I'm kind of I think I'm in a bad place right now. And I think I'm going to restart the game, because my first, maybe like not 4 hours, I don't know. My first 3 seasons were super fun.
Right.
And then winter was just boring for me.
Yeah, I find when I play RimWorld,
when
I'm on the world map selecting my start place, you can open up the terrain tab on the side, and it'll show you the planting season for an area. And I always look for places that have year-round.
That would have been good. I was doing the tutorial world where they basically tell you where to plant or to put yourself.
Yeah.
So it was a standard experience. But you're right. You make stories with it.
You do.
And I totally love the way they do it. And I think they do it on purpose because they at least tell you there's a storyteller. My characters were kind of boring at first. I didn't really get them. I had a nudist.
You get people have the weirdest predilections in that game.
Yeah.
I get so many people who refuse to clean.
Aww.
So it just looks like there's just shit and blood and vomit everywhere. And it's like there's one person who can clean, but they're like the doctor or they're like the cook or something. So they're way too busy to clean. And it's just like people vomit and just walk away. And you're like, fuck you.
Well, I was starting to get really kind of bored with it because I just had like some boring characters. Like one character was always inside researching. She never really did anything. Didn't have any neat quirks.
Yeah.
These two characters, one nudist and one chick, were just always going out, kind of being boring with each other. And then those two ended up forming a story with each other, where the nudist kept hitting on the girl. Yeah. It happened like 6 or 7 times in one day.
And every time it fails, it makes the other person like them less.
Yeah. So I was trying to picture this in my mind of just this naked guy, like, standing legs apart, standing on a rock while they're minding, like, hey, baby, you like what you see? Like, 8 times in one day.
And there's only 3 people, like, they're buddies inside, and otherwise they're just on a barren planet. It's like, you should put on some clothes and, like, chop wood or something.
It kept happening. He kept getting so depressed. Then they got married. He must have just like
it was
beaten
just
her
RNG.
brains in,
yeah,
where they fucking just got married.
Yeah,
and so they start falling in love. I give them their own house. They're enjoying their thing. On their wedding day, his father ends up flying down from the sky, and they save him.
Yeah,
and he starts hitting on the girl.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
It's been like 2 seasons. He hasn't given up. He wants his son's wife.
Holy shit. See, that game's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm having fun. I need to figure out caravans, because I think that was my big problem.
Caravans are so complex. I have 20 hours in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to get in. They're not even complex. It's just that they're not really intuitive, and they're so dangerous.
Dwarf Fortressy.
Sort of. It's more just like, think about how much security that your base provides.
Yeah.
Like having walls, having like beds where people can go to get patched up after they get hurt. When you're traveling, there's fucking none of that.
Well, I need to do something to get me out of the base because I feel like I've done everything there. I've hit the point where if I stay any more in my base, I'll just quit the game.
How many colonists do you have?
5.
5. Wow, that's not many.
No. I would have had 6, but one came in the dead of winter, and I was almost out of food.
Oh, so you just let him go?
I couldn't take him in.
That happens a lot. I got to a point in one of my runs where people would like... Have you gotten the event where people call you on the comms and they're like running away from cannibals?
I saved one person, and that's the other guy I let go.
Yeah, I will always... The only information the game gives you about that person is their age, their physical age, their biological age.
Yeah.
And if they're like not young, if they're like pushing 50, I'm like, you are gonna be weak and you're gonna die.
See, I did the exact opposite. I didn't notice that it gave you ages until my second time. The first guy I got was 44.
Which is, I would take them.
And then he is actually my best guy right now. For basically everything. I don't know how it happened, but RNGesus sent him.
Yeah.
He's amazing. The other one was an 18-year-old. And it nearly killed me. We're all starving in this building. Like I calculated it out. We had just enough to get us through the winter.
How about hunting?
We were trying to save some of the creatures because I didn't know if they breed or whatnot. So...
They don't breed. What happens is periodically creatures wander in from off the map.
Oh, okay. So I don't have to worry about keeping them...
No, unless they're like if Muffalo move in,
Yeah.
which are like the big hairy bison things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really good to tame because if you do caravans, they carry insane amounts of weight.
Okay.
Alpacas are good because they leave wool fucking everywhere.
Yeah, it's the kind of game where you really learn a lot when you play it.
Yeah.
So your first playthrough is
Your
a
first
throwaway.
playthrough's totally throwaway. And you'll just ditch all that.
I think I'm just gonna get rid of what I've got going right now. As much as I like the characters, I can't. I know so much more. Like, I didn't realize that you're not supposed to keep batteries open.
Oh yeah, that is something you learn after your first battery fire. Did you also learn to stop building things out of wood?
I haven't learned that yet.
Oh, have you gotten a major brush fire yet?
I haven't.
I lost a run, like a 5-hour run, to there's these things that can happen called flash storms.
Yeah, I had one of those really early on, so it was too early for me to lose much.
What'll happen... I had my entire base built out of wood, and a flash storm came through and burned down everything.
Oh.
Like, every single thing I had worked to up until that point.
Was all your stuff connected?
Yes.
I also learned that.
No.
Don't keep it connected.
Alternatively, build out of stone and make everything connected. Because then you have a compound. Like, if people invade you, it's like, come into the compound.
I need to learn some more stuff about planting and all of that. But I think we should probably get off of RimWorld.
Should we?
It's a great game, but this is going to turn into the RimWorld podcast.
I have no problem with that.
We're going to need a better name. There's not a whole lot of hacking or slashing.
The RimWorld job, or the Rim Job World podcast.
Oh God, no!
From your idea last week, your terrible porn parody idea.
Oh. So I did actually buy another game. And I've got plans to buy more Steam games, but I just didn't have too much time with the other games and some of the other projects I've been working on. But I bought Lisa. Everyone compares it to Undertale as far as characters go, except awful. Not bad, not like bad game.
Like bad people?
Bad people.
Okay.
It's set in this... I'm not very far in. I'm maybe 2 hours in this post-apocalyptic... very barren desert land. And there are no women at all. Except you find a baby that happens to be a woman and you raise her.
Okay.
And very... It's kind of a story-based game, so we might
It's hard to spoil stuff. What's the gameplay like?
It shocked me. It looks like a platformer at first, but it's a turn-based RPG.
Really?
Yeah.
That's strange.
With really annoying combat. I'm sure it appeals to someone. At least with no weapons, you have to type in what moves you want. So you, like, attack, and then you've got, like, 4 different punches, and then you choose your punches, and I'm assuming there's combos. Which is fun and creative. And it gives you different ways to play. But the overworld, the what you spend most of your time in, is just awful to go through. So you're platform-esque. You move left to right, and you can sometimes, when it lets you, go up a platform. Which, one, I think they should have gotten rid of that. Just make it a jump. You can jump anytime instead of when you're near an edge, you can press up and space to climb up an edge. Yeah.
That's...
There's also... it's screen-based like Zelda. So, like the original couple of Zeldas.
Yeah.
Where you go from screen to screen and there's like that transition. You always end up way further than the edge of the screen when you transition to the next screen.
Oh...
And there are drops. So every time you transition from a screen, the safest thing you can do is just tap the button and then wait and then just pause and take in your settings.
Yeah.
Because when you first get control, not when you first get control, but when the game really starts and you actually get control, 3 out of the first 10 of the screen transitions are just like, if you don't do that, you will automatically die, game over. which really bums me out because a lot of people rave about this game, and it's got what I think is going to be a great story.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm having a hard time getting over the fact that it's just
so terribly designed gameplay-wise.
And it's also the kind of movement where you tap the button and you wait until you hit the next spot, but it doesn't feel grid-based. Like, the tiling of the tiles doesn't match up to the tiling of where you move.
Weird.
Yeah.
I was going to ask for a second if it felt like an RPG Maker game.
I think it is. But
that would explain a lot.
But the art style and the way you do combat doesn't really feel like it. There's just some menus that have that UI.
Oh, it probably is like heavily modified RPG Maker.
Yeah.
Because you can do some insane shit with RPG Maker.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people are very quick to be like, oh, RPG Maker, terrible engine. When people use it poorly, yeah, you can tell. Wow, that's an RPG Maker game. That sucks. But when people use it well, you can do some really cool stuff with it.
It's the same with any engine. And I don't even think you need to use RPG Maker well to have something that's good. There was a game that just came out. It's called One Chance or something. It's about a cat with a light orb. And it looks all regular RPG Maker.
Mm-hmm.
There's very little combat, if any at all.
Mm-hmm.
But they just basically use it for the movement and the menus.
Yeah.
And there's no real changes to it. It's just a really good art style, a really neat story, and a amazing kind of offsetting.
Yeah.
And you don't have to use it well to do that. You just have to have a good artistic idea.
Speaking of off.
Yeah.
Have you played Off? It is an RPG Maker game, which was developed by a French studio, which seems to be like a surrealist art RPG in the style of Mother.
Oh,
yeah.
Ooh, you're pulling at my strings here.
I have a feeling you'd very much like it. It's really surreal.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. And it's got, at least to me, having never played any of the Earthbound games, it looks like a very similar art style. And it's got that, like, Final Fantasy, like, turn-based JRPG art style, or combat style that all the RPG Maker games have.
I know, going to Earthbound a little bit, whenever you see it for the first time, everyone assumes that you kind of like it because of how weird it is, which I think has some merit. But at least for me, and I think a lot of people feel this way, it has a weird childish feeling to it. Like almost nostalgic for something that never existed.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll find that in Off. Off probably doesn't have that.
It probably doesn't have that. But that was what always got it to me. And you feel it the most when you look at like fan art from... I know Magical Game Time does a lot of it. That's really good. If you know who he is. He makes these... art's usually based off of old Nintendo titles, Metroid, Mario, Earthbound. And they're usually GIFs as well. Where it'll be like a full-on poster, but if you look at it online, it'll, like the rain will move in it, or stuff like that.
Oh, I may have seen something like that.
And he does a lot of, like, really heartfelt stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
Going on to news.
News. Okay.
God, I think the biggest news this week kind of laps over from last week in what Rockstar is doing with their modding community.
Burning it to the ground?
Kind of. So, you clearly have already heard about this.
Yeah.
They just said, fuck you to the modding community. We're taking down the tool that lets anyone mod, because I guess a couple of the mods were being used for online to hack.
They were in fact not.
Were they not?
Not with the tool that they took down. The tool that they took down was specifically designed to never interact with the multiplayer experience.
Rockstar, please.
Because they were worried that Rockstar would take them out if it impacted the multiplayer experience. So it was built from the ground up to not be able to access the netcode.
Well, after solidly burning their own community, they're like, you guys can have it back now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fully back up. Rockstar said you can have it. They posted a public reply on their page. It was... Why go back on a decision like that? It's an old game, And I get that you're, like, killing your
They're
community.
still making tons of money on it. Or they were. They're not anymore. And I don't think this is going to help. I think now that they, like, did that, they've burned their bridge.
I don't think so. Because when they started doing shark cards, which is how they make most of their money, people were so furious about it.
And then they bought them.
Yeah, people still buy them. It's the only way to really play online anymore.
But to be fair, this is one of the, like, 3 times I think I've ever heard of a game's Steam reviews tanking after a developer decision.
It's happened a lot recently, ever since they introduced the thing where you can see recent reviews.
Recent reviews specifically tank really hard. Like, I think their overall reviews were still very positive.
Nope.
No.
It went down to mixed.
Even that went down to mixed.
Yep.
Yeah, but I know that their fucking recent reviews were like the god-awfulest shit ever.
It should just say that.
It should just say god-awful.
Do not buy. It's GTA 5, No Man's Sky.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh god, No Man's Sky. The ARG is still going.
Have there been any developments since last week?
So I was mostly doing the online stuff, but they've been doing a lot of, like, in real life stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't followed it too much, but from what I understand, they got a ton of people in the community to listen to a Mexican radio station for over 6 hours. And I think they just got some passwords off of that.
I wonder if the Mexican radio station was, like, freaking out. Like, what the fuck is with all this traffic?
Can you...
Like, we normally get 100 concurrent viewers, and we're getting, like, several thousand right now. What the fuck?
I don't know if they could actually tell, though, because I don't think you can tell traffic except for the Nelson system. Or Neeson.
I think there's a way.
Because it's just an outgoing signal.
It's just an outgoing signal, but I know that radio shows do get graded based on viewership numbers.
But those are usually from a subset of the population, and then they extrapolate that to the entire data set.
Is that how they do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with TV.
Okay.
Here's the we talk about an industry we don't understand podcast.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but
we're getting a lot of new names for our podcast. I think we should just rebrand it.
Every week is a brand new branded podcast.
Oh yeah, that's good for viewership.
We'll just use every single unused podcast name. No one will ever be able to make new podcasts again without infringing on our intellectual property.
I love it. I wanted to talk. There was the best game patch ever released this week.
Okay.
It was for a game called Rising Storm 2, a Vietnam war game.
Okay.
And they just released a patch this week, per request of a user on a forum. I think it was Reddit. It was a user named Pay and Spray, and he made this long, heartfelt letter to make this patch that removes a single tree from the game. It is a single palm tree in, like, a small part of the map, still surrounded by other trees and bushes and stuff.
Uh-huh.
One tree for the entire patch was removed. And I love it. And I like...
Is it a meme, or was there, like, a gameplay balance reason that this tree needed to be removed?
I think he wanted it removed because it made it easier to land a plane in this certain area, so that there was actually a reason to use the plane.
Okay.
Which I thought was neat.
It
got me thinking of...
Why was the tree there in the first place, then?
I mean, you just kind of place things sometimes. You don't always know how it's going to end up. It wasn't supposed to be a landing strip. It was just a
It just happens
place
to be big enough to be a landing strip?
If you remove that tree.
I guess.
And they totally did. And I think that it was an awesome way to do game dev. And I think, idea for you here. Mm-hmm. Game dev by committee.
Nothing would ever get done.
No. But features purely not voted on, just, like, randomly picked from bottom of the barrel Reddit posts.
Okay, so not voted on. Just you go on Reddit and you're like, what is the shit postiest idea for a game? That's my game.
And you gotta just try and get as many of those as possible every day until you've got the worst mess of a game possible.
The thing is it would be like an MMO farming simulator action RPG Zelda-like with elements from God of War and Arkham Knight. It would just be the worst shit. It wouldn't be...
What if we try and incentivize feature building on this?
Incentivize feature building.
Where it's not the breadth of the features, just the number of them. So you get, like, tree was removed. That's the feature of this update. You get, like, just as many things as possible.
But only one per update.
Yeah, obviously.
So
you don't want to overload things.
So that your update numbers are, like, version 5003.78.6.
Yeah, you should see my issue list on some of my GitHubs. It looks like that. They're all numbered, and I started using my branches named as the same as their number for the issue. And it just... Oh, there's so many numbers, and it's indescriptive as possible.
I forget what game I was playing, but it legitimately was like version 1.16,000 something. And I was like, Jesus, just move to version 2.
Well, then they have to make it feel like a real game. Are they in early access?
No, that was a game that was out.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like, no, it was version like 1.16,000.1 or something. At like 16,700 and something 0.1. And I was just like, what the fuck is your version number system?
Have you bought anything early access recently? Because I haven't. And I'm starting to get
playing anything early access?
Like, I know everyone's kind of burnt out.
Yeah, you did.
Did I?
Yeah, you bought RimWorld.
Is that early access?
It is early access for like the next month, I think.
Oh, okay.
It's like coming out of early access soon, but it is currently in early access.
There's a right and a wrong way to do early access. And the right way is to have a game that's already complete and you're just putting out patches. I think any other way to do that is just wrong. You're just taking money at that point.
What about Minecraft's system?
That was a complete game that they just added more features to.
When it first came out?
When are you considering first came out?
I'm considering, like, when Minecraft was available for money.
Oh, so, like, when it was just creative mode, and then there was that, like, $5...
When they added survival, and everybody was like, what is this piece of shit mode? I want to fly around and build spaceships.
I will say that is definitely maybe an outlier.
Yeah.
One, because there was already still a complete game there, though.
That nobody plays anymore, because the creative mode, like, imp dev thing is gone now.
Oh, I missed that. We used to play on a lot of servers like that.
We did. That was great. That was, like, 7th grade.
Oh, God, you're dating us.
Yes, whatever. I'm 43! Minecraft came out when I was in 7th grade in the 80s. Figure out our timeline now.
Yeah. But I still would consider that a complete game, and payment was optional to play it.
Yeah.
Survival mode still cost.
And it did, but at that point, nobody cared about... Like, I remember playing survival mode and being like, this is bullshit. Yeah. What are these skeletons?
It was just the zombies.
It was creepers. I remember when they added creepers, because I was like, fuck this.
And you would spam tab to make arrows come out.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. Because I didn't play much of really early Minecraft. I didn't really get on board with survival mode until it was, like, fully featured and, like...
Yeah.
I think what got me into survival mode of Minecraft was watching... And this is a throwback, too. Watching fucking Yogcast Shadow of Israfel.
Oh. You
hurt my soul. That is never, ever gonna finish. Never, ever.
Yeah.
But,
poor Diggy Hole.
Yeah. But that got me into survival mode, because before that it was just like, creative's awesome. I can build a giant dick. Because that was what you did. You logged into a server and you built a giant dick, and then you got banned by the mods and you logged into a different server.
I don't remember playing on that server with you, but I'll take your word for it.
I don't think I did that very many times before I found it just wasn't fun anymore. It's like, oh, I got banned again. Maybe I shouldn't do that. The system works.
Oh, God. So, there's actually been a couple of news articles about VR recently.
Have there?
Yeah, which was nice to hear because there was basically none of that at E3, I thought. There was some stuff from Bethesda.
Yeah.
Because they apparently are the only ones still on board with VR.
It's so weird because I feel like now is the time to get into VR as a company.
Yeah.
Because the install base is, like, not quite there, but it's getting there.
I feel like the time to get into VR as a company was, like, a couple years ago. When it was still hypeable. Because that would have made the install base get bigger. And there's been no price drop since.
There hasn't, and they've announced that there's not going to be.
Not soon, anyway.
But, consoles specifically.
There was PSVR.
There was PSVR, and that's starting to take off because that's cheaper.
Yeah.
And that's now starting to come around, and I feel like with that specifically, like that's the thing that they need to jump on because it's got such a lower barrier to entry.
From what I've been hearing, a lot of people really like PSVR. Everyone kind of says, yeah, it's not the top of the line thing, but it's perfectly manageable.
Mm-hmm.
None of the developers really like it.
Weird.
Not that it's hard to develop for, which I'm sure it is, because, you know...
VR is probably just a nightmare to develop for in general.
Yeah, but they just... Developers are like top-of-the-line stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We like being on top of things and like
So when
having the nice stuff. So they don't actually like making that compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, if I want to make a VR game, I want to make the top-of-the-line one. A lot of them are like, it's not suitable to my needs yet.
Yeah, I could definitely see... Because most developers, I have to imagine, like proper software developers,
Mm-hmm.
are probably PC gamers if they're gamers.
I'm sure I don't
are.
want to say, but
Yeah.
it sounds like a good...
I mean, I'm sure there are exceptions. I'm sure there's guys who are like, yeah, I code on a PC, so I never want to see a computer when I'm off work. I game on console. But I have to imagine most of them are PC gamers, and as a result, they'd be like, fuck. Like, why would I develop for PSVR when I probably own a Vive?
I mean, if they're... Yeah.
Because if you're a VR developer and you game on PC, you own a Vive.
Mm-hmm.
Or an Oculus if you're a really early adopter who got shot in the foot.
Speaking of Oculus, awesome transition here.
Uh-huh.
ZeniMax is going back at them again. So they already won the lawsuit. Like, that was already a thing that happened. There was a big payout, and Oculus was trying to sue them back.
Mm-hmm.
ZeniMax is suing them again, and is forcing them to either shut down Oculus.
Jesus.
Because of the break of the non-disclosure agreement.
What was the non-disclosure agreement?
The guy who made Doom,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name at the moment.
Ike something? I don't know.
Was working for ZeniMax when he started working for Oculus. And he had a non-disclosure agreement because they apparently were working on similar projects in VR. And he also had a non-compete clause.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they were trying to fight it for a while, saying that he wasn't actually working there yet. He was, like, just friends with Palmer Luckey.
Which is still in violation of his non-compete clause.
Yeah. So they lost that. So now trying to sue them again, they either have to shut down or share 20% of all revenue.
Jeez. Well, so shut down.
Yeah.
So it's...
Which is really harsh, but I'm wondering how that's going to affect the market.
But if he was... So this guy was presumably not the owner of Oculus.
No, that was Palmer Luckey.
Yeah, so this guy broke NDA.
Yeah.
You can't hold... You can hold Oculus liable for any corporate espionage.
Yeah.
But you can't hold them liable for his break of the disclosure agreement or the non-compete clause, which would mean that they don't have the right to garnish their income.
They are saying that he used the information from their projects to develop the Oculus. That they wouldn't have been able to create the Oculus without using their software. There was also allegations, I think this was thrown out, that Palmer Luckey was let in to the id's office and used a jump drive to actually steal the software. This was shown on camera, but they weren't fined for it.
Well, then they totally do have a case there that's probably gonna go through.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they already won the first lawsuit.
Sometimes that gets weird too, because if you've already won a lawsuit and then you go back, it can be harder to win that second case. From just hearing this, I would be fairly confident that that ZeniMax is gonna win that case and that's gonna kill Oculus.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I mean, I feel like Vive already sort of killed Oculus.
It's still a nice lower end.
It is a lower end, but like most people who own one or the other or both will always say like Vive is better. Oculus has a lot of issues right now that still aren't solved from back when they came out. And so it feels like Oculus isn't going to solve its issues. Because if it hasn't by now, and Vive came out and did solve those issues, and PSVR came out and is apparently a really good piece of tech, I feel like Oculus dying wouldn't necessarily be a problem, especially since that means that on the PC VR space, you now don't have to work against competing standards. You only have to work for Vive, which is, I think, really good because once again, Vive is the better piece of hardware. And
Oculus also was doing some weird things where they were trying to segment the market. They originally made their store Oculus only.
And they did that whole thing where they tried to shut down the piece of software that was allowing people to play certain games on Vive. Yeah, they definitely did that. And Oculus was the one that was bought by Facebook, right?
Yeah. Which I don't have a problem with.
I don't have a problem. I'm just thinking, like, Mark Zuckerberg's got to be, like, really pissed off about this.
Oh, yeah. The lawsuit was going on before they bought them, so he knew about it, the first lawsuit.
He knew about it, but he was probably, at that point, not really confident that it was going to go through.
Yeah. And they lost it, like, almost right after he bought them.
Yeah.
So it was a hard hit. They've also lost a lot of their staff. I believe Palmer Luckey no longer works with them, their founder.
Yeah.
And then their head...
I know he doesn't work with them anymore. I know that the founder's gone.
And their head software engineer was arrested for something big. It was something completely unrelated and...
Was that the guy who was found with a bunch of coke in his Ferrari?
I don't know. That'd be hilarious.
Because there was somebody in the video games industry, I remember, like, a year or two ago, who got caught with, like, pounds of coke in a Ferrari.
Alright.
And I think they're, like, definitely still in prison in, like, Florida or something.
Whatever does it for them.
Yeah, I guess.
In brighter VR news...
Cool.
Vive is actually creating a new controller. It's called the Knuckles.
The Knuckles.
And it's a glove. Which I think is something we needed, because it actually gives hand control.
Does it have tactile feedback?
I'm not sure.
I'd be super into tactile feedback.
But just, like there's a time for tools, like hand things. But physical gloves actually allow you...
It's a step closer.
Yeah.
It's a step closer to, like, holy shit, I'm in the video game.
Because a lot of people have been saying Oculus's controllers are actually better for that. It's like a small thing that goes around your hand. The joysticks are where your thumbs are, and then your fingers are actually attached to each of your fingers. Like, the buttons are each attached to your fingers.
Interesting.
As opposed to, like, the wands of the Vive.
The Vive has those weird... The wands with the hole in the end that looks kind of like a space ray or something.
Yeah. And, like, a lot of people are saying, especially things that use hands, like, in the game, the wands don't feel like you're using your hands.
Yeah, they feel like you're, like, manipulating it with, like, something on the end of a stick.
Yeah. So having an actual hands is really cool.
Yeah.
Tactile feedback might be too hard to do in such, like, a small area.
It might be, but, like, even if it was just, like, a little actuator in the fingers that just expands... Just so you'd be like, oh, I'm sort of grabbing something. It would be really crude, but I think mixed with VR, it would freak people out.
I'm hoping that I'm sure it is proprietary, but I know you don't like the Switch, but the Joy-Cons in it have a really weird rumble. That actually you can make things feel like there are actual things there.
I heard about that. They have like a tech demo where you can shake them, and you can feel how many simulated marbles are in your Switch controller.
It's not actually a tech demo. That is a $60 game.
Is that a $60 game?
It's part of 1-2 Switch.
Oh,
yeah,
but it's just like it's like one marble, and you shake it around, and you're like, "Yep, feels like one marble," and then you put a second one, and you're like, "That feels like 2 marbles in a box. What the fuck?"
Yeah,
this is
really
witchcraft.
Cool. And I'm hoping that's not proprietary because I think that could be. Of course, it is.
It definitely is.
Hopefully, someone else can figure out something like that. But that seems simple and not necessarily cheap, but cheaper than actual tactile feedback.
Yeah.
But another way to do that would also be using, I guess, speakers or something close.
Yeah.
Which would end up just
actually that would be really
feedback.
cool. Have those in the gloves, because then even if you don't have like pressure-based tactile feedback, it could like move your hand sort of for you.
Yeah.
Where like you'd go to like move beyond the bounds of the game, and it would just like roll all of its rumblers back, and your hand like kind of resists your forward motion, and you'd be like, that's really freaky.
It's not super forceful, which I think is
I'm sure you
the
could
problem
make
there.
it more forceful.
There was a Kickstarter a while back trying to do something like that, like actual feedback controllers, where like if you tried to push, it wouldn't work. They were like, to be honest, they looked like fleshlights.
Oh, well,
and they had to have all these like actually moving parts because you need inertia.
Yeah. So it has to be able to like throw itself.
Yeah.
So it needs like a big trebuchet arm on it.
Which I think is going to be the big problem there. Who'd have thought the actual laws of physics are going to be a problem?
Well, you know, that's actually how it is on the inside of the Switch controllers.
Is it?
They are like these big...
Because I've seen inside of there, and there's nothing big inside of there. That's a lot of empty space.
But there are like bars and stuff that sort of throw around weights, like a trebuchet with like a few actuating like joints that helps really control the inertia.
All right. Yeah, that's the way you're going to have to do it. You need mass.
Yeah.
It's going to be... It's also, like,
it's going to make the controllers heavy.
Yeah.
Which would suck. Especially in gloves. Because in gloves, you'd be like, I'm, like, doing stuff physically with basically lead weight strapped to my arms, and that'd be draining really fast.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna have to figure something out. I mean, we aren't. Maybe I will.
You're not a hardware guy either.
Hopefully. I can't do hardware.
So
I was telling you a little bit before that I was making asset packs for Unity now.
Yep.
I'm still waiting for them to be approved.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty strict approval process. And that was actually my favorite part of making the asset packs, seeing how strictly they actually go through that store.
Yeah.
I was always wondering why there wasn't a lot of crap in that store. And yeah, it's all manual. Like, someone out there has to approve it.
Yeah, I went through the approval process to get a campaign setting published for Pathfinder. And under those legal guidelines, you can actually just publish that stuff.
Right.
But if you want to put the little sticker on the front of your book that says Pathfinder compatible, because that uses an IP in the form of Pathfinder, you have to go through their legal channels. And it was kind of a process too. And I think that's a really fun aspect of any industry, is like figuring out like, okay, I've done this as a fan or as like a community contributor for a while, but now I want to create something legitimate, and what is the process that I have to go through for that?
What's the pay split for Paizo?
It's not a pay split.
There isn't?
No. You are required to give them free copies of whatever you create, so that, I guess, somewhere at the Paizo, like, company headquarters, there's a library of literally anything that's ever been published for Pathfinder. It's just a library of literally every piece of errata from every third party and major.
That's really
developer. Cool. But so you send them like your you send them your thing, and it's not super approval process because they're actually not allowed through the open game license that's appended to all that stuff. They're not allowed to like check and balance the content you create.
Just have to make sure it like fits with their image. Like you don't want
super
sex stuff.
You can't have sex. I think you're not allowed like graphic violence on your cover. Like as long as it's not like people's guts flying out or stuff.
Okay.
And I think you're not allowed any racism, homophobia, like hate speech stuff. And other than that, you can pretty much put through anything.
All right.
But there is like a little process. You like fill out some paperwork, and you can actually go on Paizo's website, and they have a list of everything that's ever been published third party.
That's cool.
And I am on that list. Way towards the bottom.
Yeah. I mentioned pay split because Unity does do a pay split.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine with me. It's their store. It's their assets.
I do have a pay split with Drive-Thru RPG, which is the place where I sell.
Yeah.
But that is very... I think it's like 50%.
Oh, wow.
But I think that's specifically because mine is like $1.
Oh, okay.
So I think they're taking a larger percentage because it's so cheap. I think the way it works is it's like a percentage, or if that would put it below a certain amount, they just charge you that amount instead.
Gotcha.
And it's like 50 cents or something.
Ours is 70-30.
70-30.
So we get 70, they get 30. Which seems to be the normal. I know that's what Steam does for putting a game up.
Is it?
Yeah. That's why a lot of people want you to buy off of their website
instead of through Steam.
Oh god, speaking of website, that's one of the big things that happened with No Man's Sky before it came out. Everyone's like, this game's going to be so awesome. We should all buy it from their website so they get more money. And everyone bought it off their website and you couldn't get a return unless you bought it off Steam. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm really glad that there's Unity assets.
Yeah.
I'm a proponent. I love that word, proponent, of people making asset flips. Because people need to have their ideas out there.
It depends on the asset flip.
I'm not saying all are good.
Yeah.
But I'm a proponent of the idea of asset flips.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of more assets that I'm planning to throw out. I've got a paint gun in the works, like a first-person shooter paint gun, because whenever I make an asset, it's what do I want to see more of in games, and I'm hoping with all of my heart
that you get another tag powered paint.
Someday I will see one of my assets in some indie game, even if it's crap, even if it's like one of those like overwhelmingly negative, this was just made so we could get cards on the market. If I could see my sprite in a game, I'm gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Like
I'm in this game. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's true. Because, spoiler alert, the RPG setting I published is kind of god-awful. And I would not... If I were to go back and redo it today, there's so much that I would change.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like...
Has anyone bought that? You said a couple people, right?
I think like 70 people have bought it yet.
Oh, nice.
Which I honestly don't care because my Harry Potter thing that I that I put online for free has almost 80,000 downloads now.
What's the name of that?
That is Harry Potter and the Tabletop RPG.
This is now the advertisement podcast?
Yeah, let's advertise shit. And that has... The second edition is starting to take off now.
That's good.
Cool.
I never played that one, but I know you ran the first one for us.
Yeah.
And that was some of the most fun we've ever had in a tabletop game.
Yeah.
That's free, right?
That is, yeah, because I can't charge money for it. Because I would get hit so hard by J.K. Rowling's lawyers that I would go into a coma.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's available if you Google it.
That's as far as we're going to go with. But I'm totally open for ideas for asset packs, too. Like, if you... I know, like, it's hard, but...
Yeah. I would love... I wish that I had a larger skill set than writing. Because it's such a constraining skill set.
Which is why I like asset packs. Like, why I think they should be available. There are people out there with great writing ideas for games, and they can't make them.
The thing is, I also cannot code. Like, for shit. I cannot figure out RenPy, which is a Python-based, basically, image system. It's beyond me. I am so... terrible. I think I'm worse now with coding than I was in high school. Just because I haven't done it in forever. And I just wish that... Like, the one thing that I can do as far as video games, design-wise, is I'm really good with RPG Maker. But the problem is I always feel like there's a huge stigma behind it.
Don't. Like, there might be. If you have that game, just make it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like you were saying with your RPG thing that you, the setting you made. Doesn't matter if anyone plays it. Just have something out there.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to put it on Steam. There are free websites for that. Just make something.
Yeah.
I know you've made Pokemon things in the past.
Yeah, I have made little Pokemon RPGs that didn't go anywhere.
The hard part tends to be, at least for me, art. I'm getting better at spriting. I've gotten really good at spriting.
I've started trying to practice spriting over the last week or so. I tried doing like a regimen where I would like be like, okay, I'm going to get a bunch of sprite sheets from games, and I'm gonna go through them, and I'm gonna like comb them for palettes, and I'm gonna comb them for like ways of implying form. And I was just like doing basically like studies of sprites from games that I think look really nice.
Yeah.
And that helped me a lot.
I ended up doing the exact opposite of that. I spend a lot of time researching, a lot of time finding styles, and I just said, no more of that. I'm just going to sprite until I'm happy.
Until you're good.
And so I made, a couple, maybe 20 things of furniture, at least 15 different styles of people. I made...
God, I hate spriting people. I'm so bad at it.
I'm just trying to do different styles, and I'm actually starting to get really good at it. The pack I just released is over 50 types of weapons.
Yeah.
All of the same style, very low profile, kind of shaded. And I'm actually super happy with it. You just spam make stuff until you're happy with it.
Yeah, and I need to do that more if I want to get good at sprite art, which I do. It's just one of those things you got to stick with.
Yeah,
I'm very bad at sticking with things.
And as far as game design goes, if you don't have the art, just put squares in there until you do. And then maybe you'll find out that the story somehow involves squares. And then you make
Thomas's alone.
Yeah. You don't need... I mean, it helps to sell a game to have art, but you don't need it.
Okay, I will say this, though.
Yeah.
Thomas Was Alone, all about squares. Very well rendered squares.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of post-processing going on.
Which is just finding a shader. Like, even I don't write... Like, I've written a couple of shaders. I don't fuck with that anymore.
Most people who write shaders for a living.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people who are good at writing shaders are just like, I can write shaders, hire me, and people do. Because it's so hard.
It's some of the funnest stuff I've ever done, because I like the challenge and like looking at that stuff. It's just... It's fun, but also inane.
And it's really hard to get something that looks good.
And there's very rarely a time where you'll make something and it'll be different enough from someone else's.
Yeah. I got really, really into Skyrim modding for quite a few years. Not in terms of making content, but in terms of absorbing content and playing a lot of different mods and stuff.
Right.
And ENBs were huge in Skyrim Classic and not so much in SE.
Yeah, because it's pretty now. Give it a year.
Yeah, well, the ENB dev doesn't really like SE as an engine either, and there's a lot of issues surrounding. So I don't think Special Edition will ever get ENB, but you look at the amount of effort that people go through to create ENBs, and you look at how exacting people are about ENBs, where they'll be like, people post shit like, oh, I took these 3 ENBs and I mixed all their settings, and then I made my own custom settings, and then I made my own vignette, and then I did all this, and that was their idea of downloading someone else's ENB.
Yeah,
that was just like their baseline.
That's what I do.
Yeah,
because I get so annoyed with it. Like I want things to look perfect to me.
You know what I fucking hate?
What?
Film grain.
Yeah.
Film grain, depth of field.
I hate depth of field.
I hate depth of field.
Oh!
Let's talk about how shitty depth of field is.
I like light depth of field only in certain situations when it's legitimately the background.
When it's super far.
I also like it in scripted moments. I liked how Fallout did it, where like when you're talking to people and it's only one person,
it depth of field out the background. Having
a universal depth of field where like if I look like at a bug that flies in front of me, everything else is now like impossible to see. Fuck that.
Yeah.
It's also good for screenshots, but a video game is not a screenshot.
A video game is not a screenshot. Skyrim Special Edition actually has a bug in their depth of field.
Yeah.
Where if you end up in a snowdrift and it is foggy, the depth of field just scrunches real close up to your face.
Oh, no.
And everything goes blurry. And you're like, fuck this.
Oh, that's awful.
One good use of depth of field I did see, too, in a Skyrim mod, Wet and Cold, which is, like, kind of an immersive, like, environmental mod. It, like, makes you drip water when you're wet and stuff, and it makes, like, you can see your breath, because it's Skyrim and it's cold, which is great. If you go underwater, when you come back out of water, there's a depth of field effect that fades away over about a second.
Oh.
So it's just like, you're kind of like blurry from being underwater.
They've tried to fake that a couple of times, which I think is the proper way to do it as a developer. But like, I mean, for the people who are using ENBs, I guess do it the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So getting back to news. There was a weird Destiny controversy this week.
Was there?
Yeah. So Destiny 2 is coming out sometime eventually.
Is it? Yeah.
And it's coming out on PC, which the first one did not.
Right.
But now Xbox is trying to do their whole thing where Xbox games come to PC. A lot of people are really hoping that, like, saves transfer correctly.
Yeah.
Like, because I know it came out on PS4 last time, and it is again this time. But you couldn't go from your PS4 game to your Xbox game. And it's a game super about grinding.
Yeah, so you don't want to lose that progress.
But there was a weird controversy in that the developer was talking a little bit about it, and I think this was a mistake. He said there was going to be no recoil on weapons on the PC version only.
Okay, I know exactly what he's talking about, and it was a mistake.
Yeah.
So, in Destiny 1... one of the stats, one of the like modifiers you could get on random weapons was basically an aim assist modifier.
Oh.
Because on console, aim assist, you kind of need it.
Yeah.
Because aiming with a controller is just so finicky. So they added aim assist as a function on your weapon. So you'd get a weapon drop and it would have like, I don't know the numbers, but like plus 16 aim assist. Which would make you a little more accurate because it would tend to snap towards your target. But on PC, with no aim assist, or if you get aim assist, it's such a huge bonus over what it would be on console. Because console, it's kind of required.
Yeah.
On PC, you can generally just like spin and then make a really precise shot. So that's
360 no scope.
360 no scope. When you do that on a console, I guess if you do it in any case, it's difficult. But if you do it on a console, it's like holy shit. And if you do it on a PC, it's like that was a good shot. That was solid.
Not to like flaunt our skills here, though.
It's not even a skill thing. It's a mouse thing.
Yeah,
it's entirely a mouse thing. And so I'm sure that he was trying to like clear the air on how that was going to function, if they were going to keep that in,
Uh-huh.
or how that would interact across console and PC, because
crossplay and
it's a huge issue. It's a huge gameplay issue. It's why the console version and PC version of Overwatch has different stats on a lot of the heroes.
Yeah.
Because Torbjorn's fucking broken on console, or was. They patched him because he had an aimbot in the form of his turret. And anybody who could aim better, like Soldier 76, was crazy good when he came out on console, because you have an aim assist button.
Yeah.
You have a button that just makes your shit hit.
And that's kind of makes me feel like Soldier 76 is almost useless on PC. I know he's one of the meta right now.
I am bad at aiming.
Yeah.
Like, I specifically could never 360 no-scope anything. So I like his ult because I actually hit things.
Oh, I waste his ult a lot just because I don't have a problem hitting anything as him, and I just wreck with him anyway.
I have issues hitting things with him.
Gotcha.
I'm really bad at aiming, especially recently, because I've been having wrist problems.
Right.
I'm getting worse and worse at aiming. So I like having the aimbot.
Coming back to Overwatch, as we did this week, you and I played a couple of rounds of it, about a day.
Yep.
I had some thoughts on it, because it's a different experience now, which is good.
Yeah.
We played mostly casual, entirely casual.
Yeah, we don't play competitive.
Especially coming back to something, playing competitive would be a bad idea.
I've been thinking about getting back into competitive Dota. And I just, like, do I really want to just toss away that much of my life to get back into and feel the sheer rage that is an hour-long game lost to someone ratting your base, and you're just like, ah! I am not a ragey gamer, but you have no soul if you don't get angry sometimes playing Dota or League.
Yeah. But Overwatch, I feel like the meta is ruining that game.
Really? Because I felt like when we played, specifically the addition of Orisa, just made the game balance so much smoother.
One, I don't think anyone knows how to play Orisa yet. Every time I went up against her, she would just hide behind a shield, and then they'd shoot through the shield, and you just walk around it.
I found when I played her that if you can find a choke point that you want to protect with your team, and you toss down the shield in the choke point, it's amazing. And that's mostly how you want to play her. And then
I
when
guess
they
that's just
breach
a problem
the shield,
with mobility with most people. Then.
Yeah. Well, then when they breach the shield, you drop your ult, and it damage boosts the whole team, and then you just fire down the enemy team as they come through the choke point, and you drop your shield again.
When I was playing, I played a lot of characters that I would say aren't in the meta right now.
Yeah.
Because I played whoever I thought was needed based on my knowledge of understanding the game before.
From before, yeah.
And that actually did really well for us. We won a lot of games.
We did win quite a bit.
But I've noticed that people don't change characters as much anymore.
Yeah, because now...
Which is almost killed our team a couple of times, and I know that was the big reason they lost a couple of times.
Yeah.
I still strongly believe that changing is the most important way to win the game.
Yeah, it is.
You have to change to go with the situation. A lot of people have their mains, which I don't know if you've been watching Game Grumps teach Dan how to play Overwatch.
I haven't been watching Game Grumps lately because I found it really... I really liked it for a long time, and I found that recently it's getting kind of inane.
Oh, yeah. Same, but I just watched Overwatch because I thought it was a neat concept. Dan had never played before, and they taught him. But it's also Aaron, the guy who can't play video games.
Right.
And all he talks about is his main, and he just basically only plays Pharah. And why? I guess you get good with that character, but you're never going to be prepared.
So, you already are painfully aware of this. But when I started playing Overwatch, I did this sort of challenge for myself because I didn't want to main anybody. So I said I'm going to play an hour of every single hero in the game. And we lost some games over it because I'd be like, I need my hour of McCree, and I suck at McCree. So I would just be like, okay, we're playing an hour of McCree, here we go. And I sat down and I would play the whole hour, and I'd lose every single game for the hour. and then it'd be like, cool, I know for a fact now that I don't like playing McCree. But, like, there were a bunch of heroes I found that I don't think I would have played otherwise. So I feel like that was really good for me as a player to do, even though it was kind of painful at first. And maybe not committing to an hour would have been a better way to do it. But there were heroes who, for the first, like, half hour, I was like, this is garbage. And for the last little bit, I was like, I'm actually really enjoying this now. I, like, get it. And I wouldn't have kept playing them if I hadn't forced myself to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm very against the idea of maining. Like, in Dota, I don't main either. I tend to play support, but that encompasses, like, 30 to 50 heroes, depending on who's bitching about playing what heroes in what way. But,
well, you know that I used to main a little bit in Overwatch. Purely out of circumstance. I used to main Lucio
because there were never healers.
There were never healers.
And Lucio's was at the time a really good just all-around healer.
Yeah.
And I think he's back to that now, even though he's kind of bad good. For a while.
I played him recently, and I found that the Angel... I'm so bad. Mercy was better in almost every situation except for speed boost.
Yeah.
Which no one uses anyway, which... People need to start using their less useful things circumstantially. That's another problem I found. No one ever uses the attack boost as Mercy, which won us the game.
Yeah.
That last game we played.
Yeah.
Especially with a couple of the ults.
Yeah.
And no one ever uses the speed boost except when getting to the point.
Once you're on the point, nobody uses the speed boost.
Which is kind of weird, because I know that some of the meta people, like the people doing competitive, use this.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the thing that everyone's watching.
The thing is like... it's like Dota.
Yeah.
In Dota, there was this huge issue for a long time. There was this player called Dendi. And Dendi was known for playing a hero called Pudge, who's basically... Roadhog, I guess, would be... He's a dude with a hook.
Okay.
And he eats people.
Ah, yeah.
And, but his whole deal was, this guy, Dendi, would take Pudge into the middle lane, and he would he would steamroll games. And this was in the early years of Dota 2. But for a long time, there was this, like, joke of, I'm gonna be Na'Vi Dendi, and people would play Pudge, and they would go mid, and they would suck. Because Pudge, as it turns out, is a terrible mid hero. The only reason Dendi was good is because Dendi was really good. And he could, like, abuse... Pudge was very good at abusing people who got out of position. And in the early years of Dota, even pros were, like... Like, if a pro team from, like, TI2, like the second year of Dota, went up against a pro team now, it wouldn't even be a contest. It would be a slay fest. So, people were just worse back then. But it became this legend of Dendi. Dendi is so good, so we're gonna be Na'Vi Dendi. And, so people played this really terrible strategy, and everybody now hates Pudge. Everybody hates him, because they're like, every time somebody picks him, they're trying to be Dendi, and they suck at the game, and they lose us the game. Or they're like, I have tried to be Dendi, and I am not Dendi, so I refuse to play Pudge. And, I think that that's something that you'll see in a lot of the pro game, the pro circuit, versus, like, casual play of any game like that, is the pros will do something, and people look at that and be like, that looks fucking awesome, they're trashing. But they don't necessarily realize, like, they're looking at it and they're like, well, obviously they're doing really well because, whatever, their Soldier 76 is getting all the headshots.
Right.
But what they aren't looking at is the little icon that shows that Mercy is giving him the power boost. Or they're not looking at the like, other hero behind them who's maybe applying more damage, and so people take away the wrong things from pro play, and then they try to apply it to their games, and you end up in one of two situations. You end up in a situation where it does work, and so they're like, this is the good strat, even though it's kind of just janky shit that worked once because the enemy team was bad, and then they go into games and they're like, this worked once, I know it's good. they're like convinced that it's good, so they just try terrible strategies over and over again. Or you have the opposite of that, where they go into a game and they're like, I'm going to try the pro strat. And they go in and they suck because they did something else wrong. And they're like, well, obviously the pro players are wrong, so I'm going to play in this other way.
Yeah.
And so you end up in this situation where the casual level of play and the pro level of play are so vastly disparate that like comparing play styles is not really like conducive. Like that was a huge issue in the early years of Dota, because there was a hero called Ricky, and Ricky had this ability, still has this ability to this day. At level 1, he can be permanently invisible. And the thing is at low level play, he's just a monster because no one can see him. People are like, what do you do against Ricky? He's invisible all the time. But against pros, they buy
that's Ricky.
They buy a 50 gold item, which is something, if you stood in place for like 30 seconds, you'd get 50 gold. So it's it's 30 seconds of doing nothing to buy this item, and you drop it on the ground, and if Ricky comes within this huge area of it, you can see him. And so at the level that even I play at, and I am at a little below the 50th percentile. I'm actually pretty garbage at Dota. But even at the place that I'm at, everybody knows that. And so nobody plays Ricky. Because they're like, they're just going to see me. Like, I functionally am working a skill down from everyone else, because invisibility is basically useless. But in low levels, he slays. And in pro games, there was a time period when he was played, but nobody... They like played him. It was like, he's invisible, so we'll use him to just scout. Like, he doesn't do anything else. He just like scouts, and like he has like a silence that makes people not able to cast their skills. And that was how they used him for the longest time. And now he's out of the pro scene entirely again. He's just garbage otherwise. So yeah, there's a huge gap between how casuals perceive a game and how pros play a game.
I do have to say, one thing that's really nice about the meta kicking up, and like everyone is playing Symmetra now. Yeah. So that everyone knows how to get rid of Symmetra. No one's playing Torbjorn anymore. So no one knows how to get rid of Torbjorn. Yeah. I noticed, because I played Torbjorn a little bit.
I tried one of the games we played. I think we lost that one. I think we were steamrolled really hard, and I just couldn't keep a turret up.
I played for 2 of the games. And one time, they basically never took down the turret. Yeah. The second time, my turret was in a bad place, but it still did reasonably well. And just because of my small hitbox, they wouldn't ever take me out. Yeah. So, we won both of those games, I know.
Yeah. No, I think the one Torbjorn game I played when we played that we lost, it was literally like, we opened the game, I ran to the front, I placed down my turret, I got it to level 2, and then I backed up. And by the time that turret was down, they had pushed to our cart, and I tried to drop my turret again and immediately got blown up and I got killed. By the time I respawned, the cart was almost to the end already, and so I went to go place down my thing, and the enemy team just ran up and killed me, and then the game was over. So it was like literally a 2-minute game. And that was the one I lost to Torbjorn.
Gotcha.
So it was just not a Torbjorn game.
Maybe they knew how to deal with Torbjorn. They were all early players too.
Yeah. They remember.
Yeah, that was... I think I'm going to give it a couple of more goes this week, just throughout the week, to see if... Because it's a different feeling now. There's less anger now, which I'm wondering if all the anger moved to the competitive scene, which is awesome for me.
I'm sure it did, because... Yeah, that's something I remember.
Because we played, 46 weeks ago now, before competitive was out.
Yeah. Well...
You might have played a little longer.
I played... No, we played during competitive.
Did we?
We just didn't play competitive.
I know there was a brief period that we played only the Lucio Ball.
Which was after competitive came
out.
Okay. Because I remember specifically, I wanted all of the badges for calibrating during each competitive season.
Gotcha.
And so for like the first 3 competitive seasons, I calibrated and then just stopped playing competitive. And I think I'm like 5 badges behind now. So I don't care anymore because I wanted the full set. Like, that was the point. So,
no
whatever.
point. You can't do it.
There's literally no way. Which is... Okay, let's talk... I want to talk about that for a second. Does it bum you out in games sometimes when something is a limited time only, and you were maybe really into the game, and then you just fell out of it for a couple months, and you come back, and you're like, I want that thing that I missed?
Absolutely, but sometimes I don't know if there's a better way to do it. Because
Yeah.
you want to, like, incentivize your players to, like, play these things. And if you've got, like, a 2006 badge, you can't give that out in 2007.
Right.
But skins and stuff
is mostly
that
what I'm talking
bums
about.
me out a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I know this last anniversary, there was one skin that I super wanted. I believe it was the Beekeeper May.
Yeah.
And I didn't play because I just wasn't into the game.
Mhm.
But now there's no way for me to ever get that
Right.
until they bring it back. They did say that they will come back, the skins. All of them.
Well, like, in Dota, they have tons of skins that are like, it's this event only. And they basically do it for every event. And they do like 5, 7 events a year. And there'll be like 20 skins per event because it's all community driven.
Yeah.
So they can put out that volume of content. And it'll be like, these are available only for this time. And it's just such a bummer because, like, maybe even you'll be actively playing and it'll just be buried under mounds of other skins that you're seeing. And you won't even, you'll, like, look back a few years later and be like, oh, I want that. And you look on the marketplace and it's like, it doesn't exist anymore, so it's $20. And you're like, fuck that. I'm not paying $20 for a skin. This isn't fucking Heroes of the Storm.
On an alternate viewpoint of that, did you ever play Gaia Online? That old website? Okay.
Yes, I definitely played Gaia Online.
All right. It's been a
You got
long
me into
time.
Gaia Online.
I went back recently because they've got some art commissioners, and I wanted to get some art for a D&D campaign. And so I made like a little avatar because you make avatars in this, and there's.
Did you not have your old account?
I had my old account, but I wanted something. I thought it would be cute to just like see what's available,
see what's new in the world of Gaia Online.
And they were always kind of known for having monthly collectibles, which was an item you could only get that month. And then now they've got like all sorts of items that are limited time, but there's millions and millions of these items. To the point where there's like so many things that exist now that like even if you don't have that one item you really want, you might be able to find something that is close enough. And like you said, how the skin was $20, that's not like an unleapable leap.
But that is not. So to put this in perspective, there was a courier, which a courier is a little animal that brings you your items in Dota. And there was a courier that was exclusive to the International 1. So it was only for people who went to the International 1 and in a random drawing got this courier. And somebody sold one of those for $14,000. That is the level of the skin market in Dota.
I like that.
It's cool. It's just like, and here's the fucking hilarious thing. The courier looks like shit. Yeah. It's just rare. It doesn't look good. A lot of the really old couriers sell really high. Like, really early on, they did a winter festival event, and you could raise these eggs, and these really ugly gremlin things would hatch out of them, but they were different colors. And there were like rare colors and stuff. And if you want to go back, and they're called Greevils. And if you want to go back and you want to buy like the blue Greevil, it's like $100, $200.
I like that. That adds some rareness and mythicality. And there's been a lot of controversies with games. I know For Honor was the first one, and then Overwatch has had this recently too, where people are making big stinks and like it's tearing the community apart
over skins.
Over
it's not.
over not being able to have every item in the game. There was a thing in For Honor where you can buy gold in that game for real money, which it's fine.
Whatever.
I don't care. I'm not going to do it once again. But they calculated out the amount of time it would take to get every item in the game, and it's something like 2 months of playing it
solid, nonstop,
as a full-time job.
Oh, jeez.
And everyone's super angry about this. You can't have every item in the game unless you do that. And the developer came out and he's like, "You're not supposed to.
You're not supposed to have
You're
every
supposed
item
to, like, these are things that you can, like, work towards, or there's, like, grinding opportunities, or, like, you get the armor set that is super within the things you can get. And it's not like there's one item out there that, like, takes 2 months to get. It just, there's, like, random drops or crafting.
Yeah.
You don't have to have every item. And it happened again with Overwatch, where people were angry that, oh, well, we've officially hit the point where even if I play 24/7, I can't get every new skin. That sucks.
Okay, yeah.
So you get some of the new skins. They're rare skins. They're legendary skins. Be happy that you got some of them, I think.
And I mean, well, yeah. And there are people who literally drop hundreds of dollars on the boxes during the events because they want the event skins. And a lot of them still don't get the event skins, and that's sad.
One thing you have to know is that it is a money-making thing. They're not even hiding it. It's they want money to keep their servers up and to pay their employees and to, you know, it's a business, which is fine. Games have to be. And even if they don't have to be, these want to be, and they're giving you a product for it.
I mean, the way I look at Dota specifically is that whenever you buy a Dota skin, you're not just supporting Dota, which you are, like, when you buy a compendium, which is, like, their sort of, like, whenever they do a major tournament, they put out a compendium, and you can do stuff like, they give you little, like, points and chips, and you can, like, vote on your favorite players, and then you basically, like, construct a fantasy league, and then if you win, you get coins back, and you can cash them in for items and shit. And it's fun little shit like that, and you can get exclusive items, and you level them up, and you get, like, all your stuff evolves with them. But they're like $10, and if you want to buy, like, a higher level one, so that you start with a bunch of stuff unlocked, they're, like, go up to, like, 35, and then you can buy individual levels after that. But when you buy one of those, it goes into the prize pool for the international, or for whatever tournament's currently going on. So you're actively supporting that community, and beyond that, whenever you sell an item on the marketplace for Dota, for, like, trading and stuff, Valve takes a cut of that. And to me, that's like, I'm paying for Steam servers. I'm paying to continue using Steam, which I'm fine with.
Even if you don't feel that way, like, towards, like, servers and whatnot, and of course, like, not all the money goes there. Like, there are people higher up in the chain that are just getting money.
That are just, and but whatever, Gabe Newell can swim in his giant pool of money. I don't care.
But, like, if you play a phone game, and there's microtransactions, and
because there will be microtransactions in your phone game,
and you make that decision to buy a microtransaction,
that's you. You
are doing that purely because you are saying that this $1 will make the game more fun for me. And you apparently think that's worth it. And if you don't. But, like, I can see why that might ruin a game for someone, that they can't find the game fun without putting money into it. That's most games. Unless you're pirating them,
most games
you're not getting
money.
them for free. Now, there are whales.
There are people who spend thousands of dollars on games, which
I think there needs to be some sort of restraint there. It's an addiction.
Here's the worst business model I could ever think of for a mobile game that I think would maybe, like, garner some community goodwill that might save your game. Design it so you have, like, a monthly spending cap in the game. Like, we will only allow you to spend $10 on our game per month.
I think that would be, like, might be a good way to get some of the lower spending people to be like, oh, that's cool. I think the big problem with that would be the people who want to spend the money.
It would slaughter Because what is the statistic that 1% of people put in 99% of the money for these games, right?
And if you, like, I hate being told I can't do something, especially if it's so inconsequential like that. If I want to spend $200 on your game, let me spend $200.
Yeah.
You are not losing anything out of that.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure out how to price things. And I'm pro microtransaction. I've
as
never
long as
done
they're
it.
done well. Yeah. I've paid for tons of microtransactions.
Unless you count Steam cards.
You are into Steam cards. I think of Steam cards as like a source of revenue.
Yeah, I know. I really want some of the Steam cards, but I won't even ask you because you will say no.
I mean, if they are under, if they're under 10 cents, like it's so much effort to go through and sell each one individually that unless they're over 10 cents, I won't bother. So if you want my cheap cards, I will give you my cheap cards. Dope. But if they're expensive, I want to sell them on the Steam Marketplace because I've literally, I own all the Borderlands 2 DLC because through selling Steam.
That's cool.
Through selling those Steam cards because some of them are like 50 cents.
Yeah.
And it'll just be like, I'll get a game in a Humble Bundle, which I'm buying my Humble Bundles anyway.
Yeah.
And then you play every one of them for an hour. You get like 30 cents back, and then you cash it in for more games. I think it's a great system. Which is how I look at the system versus most people who see the system as... And our shit may have just crashed. Okay, guys, we had some...
slight technical difficulties.
Yeah, slight technical difficulties. So, we're going to call it there for this week. But we're going to be back again next week.
Yep.
And we're going to do like a introduction to Summer Games Done Quick, which is starting next week.
Absolutely.
And we're going to talk some more about video games.
And since we've got a new microphone and new setup, next week we are going to live stream this.
Are we live streaming this?
We're live streaming this. Aren't you glad I'm telling you this ahead of time?
Have you solved all of the sound problems?
Literally all of them.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right.
Oh, wait. We're going to be competing with SGDQ next week.
Whatever.
Yeah, okay.
It's not really a competition. We'll just send them there.
We'll lose. It's a good thing it's not a competition, because we'd lose.
If anyone actually comes to our chat, we'll just link them to SGDQ.
They have made Barbie's Magical Horse Adventure the #1 watched game on Twitch for like several hours at one point.
I remember that.
So, good on Games Done Quick.
All right. Next week.
Bye.